Do you want to get rich? Do you want to be a private investigator? Do you think being a private investigator will make you rich? Let's unfold the mysteries right now about how rich you can get as a private investigator. First off, if you have heard all the numbers that are thrown out there by the experts, including myself, regarding how much private investigators charge per hour and think this may be the best get-rich-quick scheme out there, well, I hate to be the one to tell you, but you are dead wrong. In fact, if you are looking for a get-rich-quick scheme, you are better off not becoming a private investigator and just buying yourself a lottery ticket, as the odds of hitting it big on a lottery ticket may be the play for you. I don't care what industry you enter, private investigations, fast food, business consulting, information technology, medical, no matter what, you can get rich in any of them if you know how. Am I rich, you ask? Well, I'm not going to go into the details about how much money I have, how much I earn a year, or disclose the details about all my assets, but I will tell you I live comfortably and I am happy with my lifestyle and my life decisions. One thing I am most happy about is being a private investigator. I truly think it was the best decision I made so many years ago, as I now know what I want to be when I grow up, and that is a private investigator. As a professional private investigator, I am also sure about the need for PI insurance. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. Here are some key things you need to understand if you are going to be financially successful as a private investigator. Whether you are coming right out of school and entering the PI field, making a career change, or even if you are moving into the world of retirement or semi-retirement. If you want to be a private investigator just because it sounds fun, just because it sounds exciting, or just because it sounds intriguing, well, I am here to bust that bubble. Don't get me wrong, being a PI can be all those things. Fun, exciting, and intriguing. But, to be sure, it is not fun, exciting, and intriguing all of the time. When I started out doing surveillance, man, I tell you what, it was a thrill a minute. From the initial point of reviewing all the case detail I got from the client, doing my own online research on the subject, getting up in the wee hours of the morning and heading out with all my special PI equipment, setting up my stationary surveillance position, then getting the first video of the day, to the intensity of the chase when the subject went mobile, I'll tell you what, it was all those things: fun, exciting, and intriguing, and more. But you know what else it was? It was boring. Yes, hours upon hours of boring as I sat in a car waiting for something to happen, driving long distances just so I could sit in my car and wait for something to happen. And the worst boredom was sitting around the office waiting for the next case to come in. Just because you became a PI, just because you got your PI license, just because you have an office, a website, and a phone number, and some business cards, there is no guarantee you will get steady business, or any business for that matter. And when the clients do call, well, first off, they are potential clients, not clients to begin with. You have to sell your services. You have to convince them you are the right PI for the job, and in most cases, they are going to talk to several PIs before making a decision. Then when they call back, you have to go through the details of the contract with them, get a retainer fee up front from them, and then work out the details of the case with them, and then the excitement can start as you initiate the creation of your investigation plan. Here is one of those big secrets most PIs don't talk about with other PIs. How many calls does it take to get a case? I can't speak for everyone out there, but I can tell you from my experience, for most investigative work, I have to talk to 5 to 10 potential clients before I get a case. And why do you have to talk to so many people before you find a client, you ask? Well, there are several types of callers we get. We get the looky-loos, you know, the window shoppers who may have a real problem they're trying to figure out how to figure out, but are really curious about what a private investigator might cost, and even more curious about what a private investigator might do for them. Yes, we get those calls where the client, or the potential client, wants us to tell them all the things we can do for them in our investigation. Then they try to formulate their own plan using our investigative ideas and see what they can do for themselves first. And some want that list of things to do so they can sound educated when they talk to other PIs, and even use that list to try to get a la carte pricing, like how much to just do this, how much to just do that. And sometimes those really curious callers are not really potential clients at all. They may be competitors doing their due diligence and snooping around to see what we charge and what we do to try to find a business advantage over us. And a lot of those callers are potentially clients without a potential budget. Once they find out what it will cost to do the investigation, then they realize they need to save some cash. And by the time they do that, well, their issue may have resolved itself and they never call back. Or the customer was calling multiple PIs to get costs and they just went with the cheapest one they found. You know, the guy who says, we can get started for $500, ma'am. Then they get their $500 worth of work done and are out of money and never have a real investigation ever conducted. These are the PIs everyone really needs to watch out for. These are the guys trying to make a quick buck, have a get-rich-quick scheme, and make it difficult for the other 90% of us who are conducting business ethically. And these are usually the PIs who find themselves getting sued first, having clients do chargebacks, and finding themselves out of business in short order. Then there are the real potential clients who call. And just because they are a real potential client, it doesn't mean you will get them as your client. Remember, they are going to do their due diligence and call several PIs, and they most likely will have a wish list of what they want in a PI. That wish list might include things like at least 10 years of experience, have former law enforcement experience, must be able to work nights and weekends, has to have specific experience in a specific field, must have references, just to name a few. And you know what? I know my company is not able to have everything on every client checklist checked off. There are some things we just don't do, and there are some cases we are not a good fit for, and I am happy to tell those customers that up front rather than trying to find a way to make it work out. Then there is the sales pitch, the way you present yourself, your company, the work you can provide, and how you try to close the sale. Not everyone does this the same way, and not everyone reacts the same way to each of our ways of doing these things. I also know I lose potential clients because of certain requirements my company has, like having a 100% retainer payment up front, having a contract in place, and in certain situations I require that I work only with the client's attorney. But those requirements have helped me build a business that focuses on the most successful jobs, not just those that have the best opportunity for a successful outcome, but those that will have the best financial success when the case is closed. You see, I spent my early days as a PI chasing every job I could get, doing anything, everything, working 6 to 7 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day, weekends, holidays, you name it, I worked it. I was so busy, I forgot to work on the details for my business. Details like, how will I expand? How will I grow? What areas should I focus on? How will I not burn out and all that jazz? In fact, there was a point, it just felt like a job, a bad job at that. You know, the job that requires overtime all the time, and you work and you work and you work some more, but you never get ahead, never have time to breathe, and never get to really enjoy life. Then I put the brakes on, slowed down, started turning down some work, and put together a realistic plan for my business. A plan that I knew would take time to evolve, would be adaptable as time went on, and was focused on my goals, both professionally and personally. Here are the simple steps I used to help me build that plan to ensure I could be successful for years. First, I had to identify my natural talents. What was I good at, really good at? I also had to identify those things I was not good at, and I had to break those natural talents into two categories, those which I like to do and those which I don't like to do. From that list, I could then decide what I needed to learn about. You see, one of the keys to being successful in any business venture is to work to learn, not work to work. I am a true believer in being a lifelong learner. You don't grow as an entrepreneur if you just keep on doing what you've been doing. If you do that, well, you will just keep on getting what you've been getting, and there is little room for growth with that business model. Then I made the decision to devote everything to the business plan. But wait, let me clarify that. I don't mean I gave everything I had at the risk of family, friends, and happiness. I wasn't going to work 70 hours a week just to work 70 hours a week. Part of my plan had how many hours I needed for family time, personal time, you know, my me time, and how much time I needed for God and my spiritual well-being. And I didn't allow minimums in these calculations. I then could say I was willing to work 40 to 50 hours a week, but it would require a highly flexible schedule that could adjust as life demands it, not as business demands it. And folks, that is 40 to 50 total hours worked, not billable hours in a week. And then I had to have checks and balances in my business. I have areas and times when I measure success and measure failures too. And with that analysis, I can then identify improvements. And after implementing those improvements, I have ways to measure their success. In other words, I test those improvements to ensure the outcome is what I expected. One of my biggest challenges, though, was the lack of work coming my way when I first started. I didn't start out with the phone ringing nonstop. I didn't become a PI and have instant success. I had to build the business over time. Remember, part of my determination was to devote everything to the job. And when there was no paying work to be done, well, I still needed to make an income. That is where the side hustle came into play as part of my plan. I did odd jobs. I sold collectibles, antiques, and even computers and electronics online. I found things to keep me busy, keep money coming in, and leave my schedule flexible for the most part so I could adjust as needed for the PI side of things. My advice, if you really want to be rich and be a private investigator, well, first, focus on what really matters in life, then focus on the business, then dedicate yourself to the business as well, your family, and your own well-being. You see, folks, rich is in the eye of the beholder. Is it $1 million, $10 million, $1 billion, or is it just enough to be comfortable and live a happy life? Now, if you would like to know what I would do right now if I started a new PI business today, then check out this video.